Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a space where the future literally meets the past. We're focusing on the core concepts of tokenization and Shariah governance. We're going to explore exactly how we're taking modern, lightning-fast blockchain technology and bridging it with ancient, deeply rooted ethical frameworks. And the goal? To create a completely new kind of financial ecosystem. Now think about it. It sounds kind of like a paradox, right? Can cutting-edge blockchain technology seamlessly align with century-old ethical principles? On one hand, you've got distributed ledgers, complex cryptography, and digital assets. On the other hand, you have these foundational, century-old moral objectives that govern human commerce. Over the next few minutes, we're going to build a bridge between these two seemingly totally different worlds to see exactly how they connect. Okay, let's dive into this. At the foundation of this ecosystem, we have three intersecting pillars. First, there's technology, specifically blockchain. Second, real-world assets. We're talking things like real estate or commodities. And third, Sharia principles. When these three elements converge, it's not just some new financial product. It creates a comprehensive ethical finance ecosystem. It's an entirely new way of structuring value. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The ethical tech intersection. 2. Why tokenize Islamic finance. 3. Sharia rules of the game. 4. Ensuring continuous ethical compliance. And 5. Building the future ecosystem. Let's get right into it. Starting with Section 1, the ethical tech intersection. So at its core, we have tokenization. Basically, that's the digital representation of real-world assets on a blockchain. Imagine taking a massive, incredibly illiquid asset, like a multi-million-dollar commercial high-rise in Dubai, and issuing fractionalized liquid digital tokens that represent real ownership on-chain. This right here is our operational baseline. It's the exact mechanism that dramatically enhances liquidity, transparency, and accessibility. Now, let's see how this builds out. The entire ecosystem maps across four key scales: conceptual, operational, practical, and theoretical. It's like a giant puzzle where these four vital quadrants lock together perfectly. In Quadrant 1, we have smart logic, literally translating conceptual rules into practical contract code. Quadrant 2 is asset tokenization, which is the operational reality of issuing those tokens. Down in Quadrant 3, we've got the governance framework, establishing the required Sharia standards. And finally, Quadrant 4 is the regulatory outlook, making sure everything plays strictly by the rules of the local jurisdiction. Moving right along to Section 2, why tokenize Islamic finance. Now, what's really interesting here is that the real-world impact goes way beyond just abstract tech benefits. By enabling fractional ownership, we're unlocking incredible liquidity for assets that are traditionally stuck. Think of a fractionalized suku. Everyday investors can now suddenly participate in massive infrastructure projects that used to be reserved just for the institutional giants. Add in the immutable nature of the blockchain, and you get totally unprecedented transparency. Plus, smart contracts automate the heavy lifting, which brings massive efficiency and cost reduction. Ultimately, all of this lowers the barriers to entry, grants more inclusive access, and directly drives investments into productive, real economy sectors. Which brings us to Section 3, Sharia rules of the game. This is absolutely crucial. Every single token has to be anchored in the foundational objectives of Sharia, known as Maqasid al-Sharia. So what does this actually mean? It means halal income from strictly permissible activities and rigorous justice and fairness to avoid any form of exploitation. Most importantly, it requires riba prohibition, meaning absolutely zero interest-based structures. Then there's asset backing, dictating that tokens must be tied to tangible, identifiable assets. And finally, risk sharing, which encourages true equity participation. You literally cannot separate the digital token from these physical, ethical realities. You kind of have to think of this as the journey of an asset. Sharia considerations aren't just rubber stamped at the very end, they span the entire tokenization lifecycle. It starts at step 1 with underlying asset screening, just to make sure the real-world asset is fundamentally halal. Then it moves through structure design and smart contracts review, literally making sure the blockchain code itself reflects ethical terms. And it doesn't stop there. It continues right into secondary market governance and requires continuous ongoing Sharia supervision. The ethics are woven into the very fabric of the whole thing. All right, Section 4, ensuring continuous ethical compliance. So how do we keep this all on track without gumming up the works? Well, it requires a multi-layered Sharia governance framework. At the foundational base, you have to build Sharia culture and awareness across the whole ecosystem. Next up is the Sharia compliance infrastructure. These are the actual tools and systems in place. Above that, Sharia risk management actively identifies and mitigates any non-compliance before it happens. Then comes the Sharia review and advisory layer. And finally, sitting at the very peak, providing the ultimate oversight and approval, is the Sharia Supervisory Board. This pyramid serves as a robust structural defense against any ethical drift. And this is where the magic happens. When all these parts come together, they create a powerful tokenization engine, driving a continuous compliance loop. You've got a base setup that establishes the legal perimeter and ethical alignment, applying Sharia standards inside that perimeter. But the digital translation is the real game changer, where smart logic encodes these policies into automated compliance, resulting in seamless market execution. The digital translation and the ethical alignment are quite literally turning the gears of the market together. Of course, it's not all just smooth sailing. Building this engine faces some serious hurdles that need vigilant oversight. For instance, Godar, or uncertainty, is a major concern, especially when it comes to smart contract execution and asset valuation. There's also the risk of miser, meaning excessive speculation or non-productive trading. We also face raw technology risks like software bugs or cybersecurity threats. Throw in a current lack of standardization and some pretty complex regulatory gaps across borders, and it becomes crystal clear why that multi-layered governance pyramid we just talked about is so absolutely critical. And finally, Section 5, Building the Future Ecosystem. Let's zoom out for a second. The impact here is profound, because literally every single level of society benefits. Investors finally get access to Sharia-compliant opportunities with way greater liquidity. Issuers can reach a much wider base while significantly slashing their operational costs. The markets themselves thrive on all this product innovation. But looking at the big picture, society as a whole sees the active promotion of ethical finance and economic justice, and the Ummah is able to support global sustainable development that perfectly aligns with those core ethical principles. It is a cascading win-win for everyone involved. There's a quote from the source material that really hits the nail on the head. Tokenization is not just a technological innovation. It is an opportunity to rebuild finance on Islamic ethical values. That's the whole shebang right there. We aren't just adopting tech for the sake of efficiency. We're harnessing distributed ledgers and digital assets as profound tools to reconstruct economic systems, making them inherently more just, fair, and tied directly to real-world value. So I want to leave you with this final thought. As digital tokens continue to rewrite the fundamental rules of ownership and market participation all around the world, how will you ensure your investments align with your own ethics? The architecture for a highly transparent, ethically grounded financial future is literally being built right now on the blockchain. Understanding it is your very first step to actually participating in